I see you've gone for the Kashmir theme out there.
Yeah, exactly. You got my point.
Yeah, it's like asking someone to pick between their two children. I really can't. I really can't. Honestly, first, I think हमारे family में ये there's a loose rule that we don't really work with each other, but we make it a point not to work together because that just adds another dimension to a personal relationship that we don't believe needs to be there. So again, really hard to pick between the two. Sort of come up with them. We wanted them to be real people, and so therefore, Rocket Boys in a way was a way for us to be able to embody the tone of what we intended the show to be in the title. Again, really hard to pick because both were so charming and unique in their own way. Shows like Farzi, shows like Family Man, these are shows that have just come out recently. I'm just mentioning the ones that I can recall having just watched that I felt that wow, I wish I'd made a show like that.
So welcome all to ABP Live and ABP Entertainment Live. और आज हमारे साथ जो है मिस्टर सिद्धार्थ रॉय कपूर doesn't need any introduction. सिद्धार्थ रॉय कपूर सर रॉय कपूर फिल्म्स के फाउंडर and one of the biggest producers in Indian film industry. Welcome to ABP Live Entertainment, sir.
Thank you so much for having me.
सर सबसे पहला सवाल तो मेरा आपसे यही रहेगा कि रॉकेट बॉयज जब सीरीज था सो उसके लिए सबसे पहले तो बहुत बहुत कॉन्ग्रेचुलेशंस भी हम सब ने बहुत ज्यादा एंजॉय किया और जो स्टोरी थी वो दिखाई गई होमी जहांगीर भाभा और विक्रम साराभाई की सो अब जो है सीजन 2 आ रहा है सो सबसे पहले सर सवाल मेरा ये रहेगा कि जब ये रॉकेट बॉयज का जो स्क्रिप्ट आया ये दो ऐसे लोगों के बारे में था सर जो हम सबको पता है कि दे आर लेजेंड्स एंड स्कूल में भी हम सबने पढ़ा था इनकी थियोरीज के बारे में और लेकिन इन लोगों को उस तरह से सेलिब्रेट नहीं किया गया या उतना बड़ा दर्जा कह सकते हैं कि नहीं मिला तो व्हेन द स्क्रिप्ट केम अभय पन्नू एंड कौसर मुनीर केम टू यू सो व्हाट वाज योर रिएक्शन ऑन द स्क्रिप्ट आपने तुरंत हाँ कर दी कि चलो बनाते हैं या यू टुक सम टाइम
तो जो आपने अभी कहा था कि हमने स्कूल में पढ़ा है इन शख्सों के बारे में we've heard that they are legends, we know that they are wonderful scientists. So हमारा जो है like sort of education ये रहा है कि these were some of the architects of modern India, but I don't think many of us actually knew exactly what they did, number one.
Exactly.
And number two, I think the fact that their lives were so intertwined and so interconnected was also not something that we were aware of. So when actually Abhay Korane came to us with the story, we were pretty amazed. The whole team was quite amazed. I was quite amazed, and I was actually a little bit, sort of embarrassed that I didn't know as much as I should have about these two great men. But the possibility for drama struck us immediately. The fact that one is that when you want to talk about people's achievements, etc., you can make a documentary and that can be very successful. But the fact that there was so much interpersonal drama also between these two men, the fact that they each had their own very individual and unique vision for what modern India should be, and that was at odds with each other. They had the great amount of respect for each other, but one believed in the use of nuclear energy to act as a deterrent so that no other country would think of attacking us. The other one was quite clear that nuclear energy should be used for peaceful purposes only, and their views were so diametrically opposite. But they were great friends, they were great admirers of each other's work, and they were in each other's lives. So when we spoke to Nikhil Advani about this, he had done a lot of work in the space area because he was actually wanting to make something, to do with space. He'd done a fair amount of research, but even he was not very well aware of this interpersonal connection, and he was equally surprised. And then Nikhil and us like sort of collaborated on the journey, and that's when Nikhil brought in Abhay Pannu, who is a wonderful who's a wonderful young director who has been nurtured by Nikhil over the last few years, and this was his first opportunity to do something like this. And I have to say, Abhay just took the bull by the horns and ran with it, and he's created this incredible show along with Nikhil. Then, of course, Kausar came in, and that's when the screenplay developed. But I think you're right when you say that our basic knowledge of these two, great men was very spare, and just the fact that nothing had been made on them so far spurred us on to go ahead and tell this story.
या क्योंकि हमने बहुत सारी फिल्मों में इनके कैरेक्टर्स देखे हैं सर, लेकिन पूरा डेडिकेटेड एक चीज इन लोग के ऊपर कभी बना नहीं था. So yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for giving this story to us. And my second question will be, ये Rocket Boys जो टाइटल चूज किया, तो जब when I also heard it for first time, लगा यार कुछ यंग लोगों की कहानी होगी या ऐसा वेब सीरीज होगी. तो Rocket Boys, how this title was chosen, the Rocket Boys.
You know, sometimes when we talk about historical figures, we tend to become very serious and भारी. हम थोड़ा भारी हो जाते हैं. हम सोचते हैं कि ये इतने important लोग हैं, such great men who've done such great things. How can you, imagine that we can treat it in any way, in a lighter vein? But you know, these were men who were in their 20s and 30s when they started out on this journey. They also had their, their loves and their laughs and their, lighter moments and their failures. So we wanted to actually make these people human. We wanted to take these icons and actually show people that they were real men with all the frailties and all the vulnerabilities of real men, but also with a sense of fun and a sense of, the future being sort of out ahead of them to do whatever they wanted to do with their lives. So we wanted to treat the show with a contemporary edge in terms of the way that characters would speak to each other. We didn't want there to be these bhari, like sort of monologues where each character talks to the other in perfectly formed sentences that feel like they've been, they've had hours to sort of come up with them. We wanted them to be real people. And so therefore Rocket Boys in a way was a way for us to be able to embody the tone of what we intended the show to be in the title.
Okay. And how the actors were chosen, sir? Because Jim, Sarabh and Ishwak Singh, मतलब exactly मतलब वैसे ही लग रहे हैं. And all other characters भी, Regina, Cassandra and APJ Abdul Kalam sir का जिन्होंने रोल किया. तो how the actors were chosen? What were the process? And इतनी अच्छी स्क्रिप्ट जब आई होगी आपके पास, तो ऑफ कोर्स विद्या मैम ने या आदित्य ने या कुणाल ने भी देखी होगी, सुनी होगी. तो उन लोगों ने भी क्या इंटरेस्ट लिया कि हमें भी इसमें होना चाहिए, या हाउ द प्रोसेस वाज टू चूज द एक्टर्स फॉर दिस पर्टिकुलर सीरीज सर?
So I'll answer the second part of your question first. I think हमारे family में ये there's a loose rule that we don't really work with each other.
Oh,
We share our professional lives with each other quite freely, where we bounce ideas off each other, we take each other's advice, but we make it a point not to work together because that just adds another dimension to a personal relationship that we don't believe needs to be there. So that's never sort of a consideration. But I think for all of for my brothers and my wife that you mentioned, we when they heard the idea of the show, they all got really excited and said that this is the story that needs to be told. To the first part of your question, when Nikhil, Abhay, and us were discussing the options for casting along with Kavish, who's a wonderful casting director, um, Jim just lent himself to being cast in the part of Homi Baba. We really couldn't think of anyone else but Jim, and I'm so glad that our first instinct was the right one, and we just went ahead with what because now that he's played it the way he has, he owns it completely. It's like you can't think of anyone else playing Homi. As far as Ishwak was concerned, he had just made his debut in as a wonderful performance in his first show. And when we all saw Patalok and we saw his work in it, we were really amazed by the dignity with which he carried himself, the sense of self confidence, this quiet knowledge of knowing that you have a core moral center, all the things that Vikram Sarabhai was supposed to embody. And we believe that, he would be a wonderful Vikram Sarabhai. And so I'm so glad that our casting worked out with both our lead protagonists. And then when it came to Regina, when it came to Sabha, these were all just inspired choices in casting. And I have to give credit to Nikhil, to Abhay, and of course to Kavish for, coming up with these wonderful actors to play these parts.
Okay. And सर, वन मोर क्वेश्चन. आप बहुत साल से बहुत बहुत सारी फिल्में बना रहे हैं, एंड सीरीज जब बनाने के बारे में, तो आपने अभी जस्ट बनाना शुरू किया, तो पहले सीरीज बनाने का ख्याल कैसा है? जैसे अरण्यक से आपने यू स्टार्टेड प्रोड्यूसिंग वेब सीरीज, सो उससे पहले भी आइडियाज थे, या अरण्यक के बाद अब यू आर फोकसिंग मोर ऑन वेब सीरीज और फिल्म सर?
So we at Roy Kapoor Films have got a philosophy of chasing great stories. Now, whether
Mhm.
those stories become films or whether they become series, we just let the story tell itself organically in whichever format it needs to
Mhm.
be told. You're right. I've grown up in the filmmaking business. That's
Yeah.
something that one has done for many years and knows very well. But I think in the last 5 years, the opportunity to be able to tell really wonderful stories in the streaming space has come up. And I think myself and my whole team at my whole team at Roy Kapoor Films has just taken that opportunity head on and said, "Wow, we can
Mhm.
now tell stories that we might never have been able to tell earlier." Like for example, Rocket Boys. I can't think of how we might have been able to tell this as a film because there's such a massive amount of, so it's such a saga. It runs across so many decades, the whole lives of these men, and there's so many different intricacies with the political scene in the country at that time, the scientific scene, the social situation. You can only tell that in a series. And so some stories lend themselves to being told as movies and some as series, and we're happy to be doing both.
Lastly, this एज अ प्रोड्यूसर सर, कभी कोई ऐसे फिल्म या सीरीज आपके पास मतलब आपने देखी हो जो लगा हो कि यार ये तो मुझे बनानी चाहिए थी, या आपकी कोई ऐसी फिल्म ऐसी हो यार ये बना के बहुत अच्छा किया मैंने, and इस तरह से लगा हो, या कोई कोई ऐसी फिल्म या सीरीज जो लगा कि यार ये नहीं बनानी चाहिए थी?
आपके लास्ट कैटेगरी में तो बहुत हैं, बट आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू मेंशन एनी. आई थिंक एनी फिल्म मेकर के जर्नी में देयर आर हिट्स एंड मिसेस, and the misses are always closer to your heart because those are ones that you believed in that didn't finally work. But I shall not mention any because so many wonderful
Yeah,
creative people
obviously.
are associated with those. But there are so many shows or movies one sees and says, "Oh man, I wish I'd been associated with that, or I wish I'd made it." There shows like Farzi, shows like Family Man. These are shows that have just come out recently. I'm just mentioning the ones that I can recall having just watched that I felt that wow, I wish I'd made a show like that. And you just feel it inspires you to do better. When it comes to films as well, there are so many films like Pathan. I mean, who wouldn't want to make Pathan? It's a
It
great
was grand.
source of entertainment, mass commercial cinema in the best possible form. So there are so many shows and movies that I can cite as ones that one wish one would have made.
Okay. So, lastly, I'll play around with you. I'll give some of your movies which you have produced, and you'll have to choose ones from them. And बड़ी मुश्किल से लिस्ट तैयार की है कि वो एक ही मतलब ऑलमोस्ट सेम तरह की दो मूवीज के मैं ऑप्शन आपको दूं. So, shall we start, Siddharth sir?
Oh,
Yeah. So first will be Aranyak or Rocket Boys.
yeah, it's like asking someone to pick between their two children. I really can't. I really can't. Honestly, I wish I'd been able to, but I
So it could
just
be a
can't.
tie between these two.
Yes, it'll be a tie.
Okay. Mohenjo-daro or Jodha Akbar.
I'd say probably Jodha Akbar. And I think probably Ashutosh would also say the same. Jodha Akbar was a film where just everything came together so beautifully. With
Mhm.
Mohenjo-daro, I think the idea was to achieve something and it didn't quite come off. So I'd say Jodha Akbar.
Okay. Pan Singh Tomar or Rowdy Rathore.
Each one is so different. I think it's hard to pick between the two because Rowdy Rathod was pure mass commercial, cinema, pure masala. And Pansing Tomar was, of course, such an incredible story that deserved to be told. So again, really hard to pick between the two.
So again a tie, sir.
Yeah,
Okay. Saath Khoon Maaf or No One Killed Jessica.
I'd say probably No One Killed Jessica
Okay.
between the
And Peeply Live or Welcome to Sajjanpur.
again, really hard to pick because both were so charming and unique in their own way.
Okay. Heather or Fitur.
I see you've gone for the Kashmir theme out there.
Yeah, exactly. You got my point.
It's the ones, I mean, when you go to pick, I guess it's the ones that have worked that you pick over the one that hasn't worked. But the one that hasn't worked tends to be also close to your heart because it's hard to pick between the two.
Yeah. You
In
told
this, I'd
before that both
say,
are close, both are like a
yeah.
chill. Yeah.
In this case, I'd probably say Heather because what we intended to achieve was achieved with that film. with Fitur, I think we all went in with the best intentions, but it didn't quite work out.
Okay. And lastly, sir, Oye Lucky Lucky Oye and A Wednesday.
Again, so hard to pick. So hard to pick, yeah.
But
It would be
both
an
were
impossible
different.
situation.
Yes. So there are too many ties in this round, I guess.
I agree. Which is a good sign, right? It means
Yeah.
that
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
sign that you are creating a इतनी अच्छी स्टोरीज आप ला रहे हैं कि आपके खुद के लिए चूज करना जो है बहुत मुश्किल हो रहा है.
thank you.
So this was the round, the choose between two round, and इतनी अच्छी अच्छी स्टोरीज आपने हमें दी उसके लिए बहुत बहुत थैंक यू सर. और वी विश यू बेस्ट ऑफ लक फॉर द सक्सेस ऑफ रॉकेट बॉय सीजन 2. एंड जिस तरह से सीजन फर्स्ट ने जो एक स्टोरी दिखाई कि किस तरह से इस पड़ाव तक पहुंचे, और नेक्स्ट आई वॉच द ट्रेलर. सो अब ये जो सीजन 2 में दिखाया जाने वाला है कि आगे की जर्नी क्या है, द क्लैश बिटवीन द टू एंड हाउ द पॉलिटिक्स केम. एंड आई विश यू बेस्ट ऑफ लक टू यू एंड योर टीम सर, and for Rocket Boy season 2, and it was wonderful to talk to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Anand.
Wonderful to talk to you, sir. And if you can send a message to Aditya, I am a huge fan of him, and especially his I watch his workout videos and his body. I am inspired by him, sir.
I will tell him. He'll be happy to know.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for interacting with ABP Live Entertainment. And I request if you could say to our subscribers to subscribe ABP Live Entertainment. In short, we say it ENT Live.
I'm Siddharth Roy Kapur, and please subscribe to ABP Live.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. It was nice. It was nice interacting with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.